Awan brothers helped Wasserman Shultz threaten election fraud attorneys. The Awan brothers aided former DNC chief Debbie Wasserman Shultz in making threatening voice-modulated phone calls to attorneys suing the DNC for election fraud. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer told Fox News that Shultz ordered the Awan brothers to scare off the lawyers due to the threat they pose in exposing widespread election fraud committed by the Democratic Party in 2016. Disobedientmedia.com reports, if substantiated, the claims may have significance for the DNC fraud lawsuit proceedings and add to the growing controversy surrounding the recent arrest of Imran Awan on bank fraud charges. Jared Beck, an attorney litigating the DNC fraud lawsuit, noted on Twitter. Jared Beck, according to DNC counsel on record in DNC fraud lawsuit, voice change call to Beck and Lee was referred to Capitol Police. According to Fox, the Awan brothers helped Debbie Wasserman Shultz make voice change calls. Disobedient Media previous coverage of the DNC fraud lawsuit discussed ominous phone calls received by the Beck's offices. The individual called the Becks using a voice modulator with a caller ID corresponding to the Adventura offices of Debbie Wasserman Shultz. The Becks' referral to the ominous phone calls to the D.C. Capitol Police is potentially extremely significant in terms of both the DNC fraud lawsuit and the degree to which Imran Awan may have engaged in potentially illegal activity while serving in his role as an IT staffer. This came after a string of concerning events surrounding the suit, which eventually resulted in the Becks unsuccessfully seeking legal protection for themselves and others involved in the suit. The former DNC chairwoman's representative denied the call had been made by Shultz or an associated party, even though they have the confirmation of that call being from Wasserman Schultz's offices. And also notice that the Becks were unsuccessful seeking legal protection because anybody related that's going against the DNC, there's a problem there. They wanted legal protection.
This is more like a Quentin Tarantino movie with everything except the GIMP, and I think the GIMP's still going to show up.
Good, I hate the GIMP.
Look, this is complex, and let me try to simplify it. Basically, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has employed three brothers who were of Pakistani origin at 3 times the salary of everybody else who does IT on Capitol Hill. And this all started years ago.
They must be really good at their job.
Well, apparently they failed at working at Best Buy and other places. So I guess if you fail at Best Buy, you get to be hired by the Hill.
Were they at Best Buy?
I can't remember which one. It was one of those outlets. Now, what happened though is that she's employed these folks, and over the past years, there's been real issues regarding the fact that every other Democrat person they worked for on the Hill fired them. But they were retained by her. Now, what is really key here to remember, Laura, it's not about hard drives. It's about the fact that these individuals, during the time they worked for her on Capitol Hill, in her position there as a member of Congress,
three brothers, Pakistani origin, which is not in and of itself a bad thing at all,
had massive access to all sorts of databases, to include email of other members of Congress, super user access to the system itself, and most importantly, the sensitive information being held by the House Foreign Affairs Committee and other committees that they had access to. What this all comes down to is like, okay, you could have all that, but what gets worse is she actually employs these folks apparently to do hideous things behind the scenes. There's evidence now that at least one of these brothers was helping her do the Bernie Sanders malevolent activities of trying to manipulate things against him. They actually helped her do things like voice change calls. They actually did all these other things, which
who are these characters?
And then
who are they?
They dumped. Then there's evidence now that all this information they had access to dumped off into a third database, which is now being called a breach. So that's why the Capitol Hill police rolled in saying there's something wrong here, and now the FBI has rolled in. And let me give you the big takeaway here. It looks like a foreign intelligence service may be the recipient of all this, and something called the Muslim Brotherhood.
So, the Muslim Brotherhood and Debbie. Oh, they're going to really say it's a conspiracy theory
really
now.
Conspiracy now, but that's where apparently all this has been going in law enforcement. That's why the FBI is now investigating beyond the water.
These brothers have been kicking around Capitol Hill in various capacities for IT, but they essentially were blacklisted by most of the other Democrats, correct? But yet she found it. She gave them a home. She gave them a home. Interesting.
And they actually suspended most of their access in February of this year, and she kept them on anyway. So
she's just a very nice person. Apparently it's a jobs program.
I guess that
DNC.
$300,000 being kicked over to Pakistan finally was the straw that broke the camel's back.
But his wife is gone. She's safely over there in Pakistan. Lieutenant, keep covering it for us. Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so once they mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood, that was a problem. It would be considered a conspiracy theory. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer appeared on Fox News' Tucker Carlson, where he made allegations that Awan had helped Shultz make the disturbing phone call to the Beck's legal offices. Schaefer also discussed concerns regarding sensitive information that the Awans were privy to during their employment by the DNC. In discussing the Becks, Schaefer commented that Shultz had employed the brothers to do hideous things behind the scenes. They helped her make voice change calls. Schaefer added that the sensitive information the Awans had access to were stored in a third database, which he said is now being called a breach. If it is confirmed that the Awans helped Shultz contact the law offices of the Becks, this could have significant implications for the DNC fraud lawsuit. Unsolicited contact from Shultz to the Becks would be highly improper. Such phone calls were one in a string of apparently threatening conduct by Shultz and her associates. The former DNC chair was reported to have threatened the U.S. Capitol Police Chief with consequences in a heated exchange after he refused to surrender a laptop seized from Awan. Disobedient media previously discussed concerns that the Awans may have leaked sensitive data related to their service for Shultz and the DNC. Schaefer alleged that a foreign intelligence service may have been the recipient of the leaked information, referring specifically to the Muslim Brotherhood, which he speculated was what had prompted FBI involvement in the case beyond the initial wire fraud charges. And if you take a listen, some part here, we're not going to play the whole thing, but where she says inclusivity. You know, this is a takedown of America with the Muslim Brotherhood.
There really has been a challenge
right here
that the Capitol Police has faced systemically with diversity.
You see that?
Diversity in your leadership, diversity in recruitment. How are you focusing in on improving that? And I mean, I don't mean that in disrespect, but it is hard to take your word for it. As you said, you're in leadership now, you're not in the rank and file. So, Mr. Chairman, it might be helpful for us to have an open, an informal meeting with the Capitol Police union leadership so that we can hear from them. We don't have to do it in a hearing, but it would be, I think, good for members to hear from the union leadership. We have done that from time to time, and give them an opportunity without the Capitol Police leadership here to talk to us about, some of their challenges. But
certainly,
diversity has been a problem.
We have a great diversity officer. Now,
in other words, you see how the pieces of the puzzle are all coming together. Diversity, she's talking about diversity. Here we're being, the American government has been infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood, and we're talking about diversity. Do you see that the potential threat that this causes the American people? And we're talking about diversity and giving them access to, so what are we fighting wars for? What is all this? So it's a big joke. Okay, let's take a listen here.
She comes to us from the private sector, and she's done a lot of work with municipalities in New York City. We have, what I think we do is we include people. I think we
Do you have goals? Do you have goals to increase diversity?
Absolutely. We want to broaden our...
Yeah, let's increase diversity so we can be overrun. That's the whole point. And then here she's telling him consequences. What about the consequences?
It is not.
She's going to be...
my understanding, the Capitol Police is not able to confiscate members' equipment when the member is not under investigation.
The member is not under investigation, yeah, but he is under investigation now.
It's their equipment, and it's supposed to be returned.
Well, I think there are extenuating circumstances in this case, and I think that, you know, working through my counsel and you know, the necessary personnel, if that in fact is the case, and with the permission of through the investigation, we will return the equipment. But until that's accomplished, I can't return the equipment.
I think you're violating the rules when you conduct your business that way, and should expect that there will be consequences. I yield back.
Did you see the arrogance in her? The total arrogance. These people are dangerous. That's all I have to say. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.